Testing. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, for this lecture, we will discuss on literature review. Remember, on the last lecture, we already discussed on research process, on how to find an idea, right? So, all the process in research process should based on literature review. So, what is actually literature review? Literature review is actually an integral part of research process. It makes a valuable contribution to almost every operational step, right? As we can see from the research process, based on Ranjit Kumar from previous lecture, you can see all the research process, or the step are interrelated to a literature review. It make contribution to every step of the research process, right? So it also has a value even before the first step. That is when you are merely thinking about research question that you may want to find an answer to through your research journey, right? Means that before you start your research, before you formulating your problem, it means that you are trying to find an idea. So there is where the literature review started. So it also helped to establish theoretical roots of your study, right? And it serves to enhance consolidate your own knowledge base and help to integrate your finding with existing body of knowledge. So the function of literature review, it bring a clarity and focus to your research problem. So every time when you do a research problem, when you try to formulate a research problem, you refer to a literature review, then it bring a clarity and focus on your research problem. And it also improve your research methodology. While you are reading literature review, you also learn what others people have been done, what are the techniques that have been employed into that problem area, right? So that's why it will also improve your research methodology and process. And the function of literature review will also broaden your knowledge base in your research area. Means that while you are doing a lot of reading on the literature review, it will increase your knowledge on the particular area, right? So creating outline and reviewing literature. So after the previous step that have been completed, it is important for researcher to analyze approach that help with the foundation of the topic. So you need to create outline. Before you create outline, you need to analyze the approach that you want, that you are trying to get from the literature review. So usually we are observe the literature review as an index with titles and subtitles, and sometimes we are trying in modern area like today, we are looking into abstracts, so where abstracts are freely available to read, and it is important to know what to look over the existing literature that might be help you to figure out what is the best way to conduct your research, and more importantly, the manner in which we want to deal in our research and the topic, right? So basically, when we want to do a literature search, we know that literature review is very important in process of doing research. So how to search for a literature? So literature search is actually identification of what has already been written on the topic of interest. So the investigation of literature on research methodology where is appropriate lah. So a basis for judging the feasibility of a proposed project. So this is what we call as a literature search lah. Based what is known, it is reasonable to assume whether the objective of the project can be achieved, right? So now, So, what is a literature survey? It's actually a documentation of a comprehensive review of a published and unpublished work from a secondary source of data in the area of specific interest to the researcher. So, there are two types of work, literature work, whether it is published work or unpublished work. So, the best way to get the literature is from a published work lah. For unpublished work, we cannot really rectify whether the work is already being reviewed or not reviewed, whether the work is correctly done or not done. So it's hard to confirm that things, right? So most of the published work, I think, is reviewed work, right? And maybe some of the published work is not review work, but we can find a published work with a high standard platform, right? High standard issues, which is already being reviewed and before it published. So, for example of published work is a journal, conference proceeding, books, doctoral, dissertation, government publication, financial and marketing reports. So, my advice, when we want to find a literature survey, we might want to find some literature that have been published. So it might be appropriate to get a published work lah, instead of unpublished work. So the main element of a literature search, so selection of useful and accurate keyword relating to the topic interest is the most important element in doing a literature search. So when you want to find something about your problem, the keyword that you put into a search engine and the database is very important, right? So the identification of high quality resource containing information on the topic of interest. So this is the main element, and is the second most important, means that when we want to search the literature, right, we want to find a high quality resource. Why high quality resource? Means the high quality resource means that something that is already been through into review work, right? Means the work is already being reviewed thoroughly by many experts, and it published with on the high quality journals. And then the third element is retrieval information, means how you want to retrieve the information. Effective management of search by keeping track of what you have find. So let's say you put some keyword, let's say Alzheimer disease, so you need to keep track how many journal appear, how many lists of titles appear, how many titles that have been rejected, how many titles that you are considering currently, right? And what year you are taking into your consideration, right? So a good literature survey will ensure that important variables are not left out of the study, right? Help the development of theoretical framework and hypothesis testing. So it should be able to help you with the constructing the theoretical framework and hypothesis testing, and it will ensure the problem statement is precise and clear. So by doing a literature survey, your problem statement you should be able to describe your problem in precise and clear manner, right? Enhance the testability and replicability of the findings. Produce the risk of reinventing of the wheel. Confirm that the problem is perceived as relevant and significant. So this is some of the good example of good literature survey, right? So when you are conducting a literature review based on Ranjit Kumar 2018, there are 4 steps involved in conducting a literature review. First step is you need to search for existing literature in your area of the study, right? Second is you need to review the selected literature. Once you already review the selected literature, and then you start developing a theoretical framework and conceptual framework if available, right? So this is a step involving of conducting a literature review, right? Conducting a literature review, at first you need to identify where is our data source and what is data source available, right? In our situation, we have a library. So our library have subscribing a lot of database and in a library website, and we also have a lot of books available in the library. So that is going to be our main data source. So then step number 2, once you already identify your data source, you start to search for the literature. Then you will get a lot of literature in a database, right? You need to start evaluating the literature, whether this literature is relevant or not relevant to your research, right? Even though it is going to be in the same topic that you have described in the keyword, but you need to identify whether this literature is going to be beneficial to you or not beneficial to you, right? Once you already identify that one, you need to document your literature review. So there are data source available, such as journal articles, books, conference proceedings, government and corporate reports, and usually government and corporate report are available at their websites. Sometimes some government agency would sell their report. Some will give you the report for free, right? So another source is a newspaper, thesis and dissertation, internet. This is widely available, right? CD-ROM, I don't think so. This is relevant for today's. Maybe the CD-ROM is not really relevant by to date lah, huh? So this is one of the old example, right? So some data source might come from magazine. So this is all the data source available, and I believe there are a lot more data source available out there, but I just list down some that I can remember, right? So the journal article. So the journal article are this is a good, especially up-to-date information. So the journal article is up-to-date information. Bear in mind though that it can take up 2 years to publish articles, right? Some articles might take up a lot of time to publish and then their article because of the reviewing process. So they are frequently used in literature because they offer a relative concise, up-to-date format for research, and because all reputable journals are referred. So means that all the reputable journals are being reviewed, right? Each article are being reviewed by the reviewer and editor. Editor only publish the most relevant and reliable research, right? So this is about a journal article. So if you want to do a literature search, please refer a lot on a journal article, right? So journal article and conference proceedings, there are different between journal article and conference proceeding. If you look at into the articles, it might be look the same, but the standard is not the same, right? So this can be useful, journal conference proceeding, this can be useful in providing the latest research or research that has been not published. They are also helpful in providing information on which people are currently involved in which research area, and so that can be helpful in tracking down other work at the same researcher. So conference proceeding is sometimes the reviewing process is less tougher compared to journal article. So if you want to refer to a journal proceeding, make sure you have reviewing high standard journal proceeding such as a Scopus or ISI or Web of Science, right? So another source of literature source or source of data is a books. So book tend to be less up to date, right? Because it takes longer for a book to publish than a journal article. The textbooks are unlikely to be useful for literature review, right? As they are intended for teaching, not for research. So if you want to do a literature review, please avoid using books, because book is less up to date, and the books usually intended for teaching, not for research. But they do offer some good starting point lah. If you want to get a rough idea on your topic, then you can refer to the book. But when you want to write down something more up to date, then you cannot refer to the book, because books might be less up to date, right? And government and corporate reports, many government departments and corporate commission are carry out research, right? Some of them are carry out research, some of them just publish their report on what they have doing. So you can refer to that particular information as well, right? If you go for a Jabatan Perangkaan or Statistic Department in Malaysia, so they have a lot of report, quarter report, yearly report about what happened in Malaysia, our country economy, our unemployment rate, right, and so on. So you can refer to that. So newspapers, since newspapers are generally intended for general, not specialized audience, so the information they provide will be very limited use for literature review. So this is a very limited use for literature review. You can only highlight something yang ada, let's say you want to create a problem of statement. Let's say you want to highlight what happened in the current time. So you can provide based on newspaper. So often newspaper are more helpful as provider of information of recent trend lah. So discovery or changes, right? So for example, announcing changes in government policy, but you should then search for more detailed information in other source. So you can get the instance information from a newspaper, but when you want to trust a newspaper, please be careful. Nowadays newspaper cannot be trusted, right? Something, I don't know. So dissertation and thesis, this can be useful source of information. However, there are some disadvantage. They can be difficult to obtain since they are not published, right? So difficult to obtain for unpublished work, right? But generally are available on in the library, right? Library shelf. So you need to go through for interlibrary loan or library loan. The student who carry out the research may be not experienced researcher, and therefore they might have to treat their finding more caution than published research, right? So sometimes the result in the thesis is might be not correct, right? But they graduate peacefully, right? So you need to be very careful and you need to critically advise, critically review the work of thesis and dissertation. Internet. This is the fastest growing source of information on the internet. It is possible to characterize the information available, but you need to bear in mind that anyone can post information on the net, so quality may be not reliable. But basically, if you want to search for internet, for we are using internet for searching the article in database, right? So when we want to search some information from the blog, from the official website, or from unofficial website, maybe the information is might be not correct, right? So you need to be very careful when taking the information from the blog. So the blog information from the blog may be not correct, right? So we are using internet to find referred electronic journal, or what we call e-journal. All right. So CD-ROM at the moment, there are CD-ROM is already not available, right, in the current world, right? Even though the pen drive also not available, right? So everything now are converting or migrating to internet. So this example might be not relevant at the moment. So magazine intended for a general audience, example Times magazine, are unlikely to be useful in providing sort of information you need. So specialized magazine may be useful. For example, magazine from Royal Statistical Society, right? It come out with a significant magazine, right? Maybe that magazine might be useful for you for your research, but as magazine are not useful for your research except for a starting point, as by providing news for general information only, right? If you want to search for the methods, a newer method in magazine might be not the best source of information. So basically, when you want to do research, the literature search, the best source of information is a journal article and conference proceeding, right? So searching for literature review, this is going to be your assignment, right? Right, for the library search assignment, I will give you after this class, right? So right, in doing a search strategy, right, for literature search, right? So first you need to make sure you know what is your topic, right, and you understand a bit on your topic. Maybe you can start with identifying the keywords and the concept, and then you start digging for the literature by looking into a libraries, database, internet, and DDS, right? Once you already search into the database or libraries, right, you need to evaluate the quality of the literature, right? That is the search strategies lah. So this is the look or of your work space when you starting before you start searching for literature review, right? It look nice. When you end up with the literature search, it might be very messy, right? So you're going to have a lot of things to jot down and so on, right? So literature search techniques, right? So this will vary depending on where the source of your searching, and you should always investigate what advanced search technique are offered by individual source, as they are not be consistent, right? Maybe when you do a searching on Google Scholar and Sign Direct database is not the same, right? So but the most regular techniques available, search available, are keywords, right? Most of the database and the search engine require you to input the keywords, right? For example, Alzheimer disease and treatment. So the keyword may be the different of keyword, boolean searching, combining word, phrase, phrase searching, truncation, and focusing search name may be the result of getting the literature is not same on each database and search engine lah. So the technique, second technique is Boolean techniques. Boolean techniques is you just input and or not, right, in between the keywords. Combining words, phrase searching, truncation. For example, instead of we put all the name of nurse, nurses, nursing, nursery, we just put nurse star. Wildcard searching lah, right? Means that it can be woman with men, woman, man, right? Can be retrieved together. Focus searching means that we use field text or limit your search. Like now, stage in research literature search process. First, you need to focus on your question, right? Decide on the most appropriate source. So whether you want to use Google Search Scholar, or you want to use other search engine, or you want to use a database such as Sign Direct, Wiley, Sage, JSTOR, and so on. Perform the scoping search by dividing your search into series of concepts, thinking about the alternative term for each concept, searching each concept separately, combining concept by Boolean logic, limiting your search. So this is the performing process when you do a literature search. So revising your search as necessary and replicate in other source. So this is a stage of literature process. So you need to remember the third process. Third process, when you perform a literature search, you need to divide your search into series of concepts, right? Thinking of the alternative term of each concept. For example, maybe Alzheimer disease maybe have another term in others country. So maybe you need to search an alternative term for Alzheimer disease. Search each concept separately, combining each concept by Boolean techniques. Right? Boolean techniques means you're going to apply and or not. Limiting your research, your search, right? So don't put all the natural language word into your search engine. It might be limiting your search area, right? So the keyword in literature search, for example, think around the topic as much as possible. Record all possible terms that you can use, right? You need to think around and record all possible terms that you can be used. This is essential as two sources may be used, may use two different terms to define the same topic, right? Consider the following issues, like for example, cancer and neoplasm. So this is a synonym, right? Acronym, alternative spelling, try UK spelling and US spelling. Alternative and related terms, international terms, right? Former term means for the previous version, previous times punya terms, right? Maybe you can consider that one. So change of place name, right? Broader and narrower terms. So you must be sure about your result that we pitch at the right level, and broader term can retrieve very general result, while narrow term may be too specific. So this is a structure for formulated question. So you should, let's say, for health service research, use patient intervention comparison outcome, which is a PICO-PIC structure. Within a social science research, so maybe some keywords such as setting, population, intervention, comparison, and evaluation. So this is how we use a Boolean techniques. So for example, let's say I'm bringing out my Google Scholar, right? So Google Scholar is one of the search engine for the academic. So for example, I'm just putting Alzheimer disease, and so let's say I put N treatment. So you can see there are 1 million data, 1 million observation. Of course you can choose the since which year. I am in my example here, I just put anytime. So let's say we change a bit, we try to put inverted comma, right? So when you put inverted comma, the research is narrowing down to 895,000, right? So this is when you use N. N means that in each titles, right? It depends. We can use advanced search as well, but I just want to show you the difference between when you use Boolean techniques, right? So when you use N, so it will in the title will provide Alzheimer disease and treatment. If you use OR, the result became 6 million. So means that in the title either it contain treatment or Alzheimer disease. It does not mean that you need to. It doesn't require you to search treatment and Alzheimer disease together. If you put not, right, so it will exclude the word treatment. So the search going to be 800,000, right? Okay, so this is how we do a searching. Let's say I'm going to sign direct. Sign direct also same process. If you put Alzheimer disease and treatment, it will search for 130 results. So by using a sign direct or a specific database, it will narrowing down your search area, and you will get the precise and clear literature from the database, right? So there are a lot of database available. Later I will share to you, right? For example, kita tengok or ni apa tadi kita use combined term or term within the same concept, means that vegan or vegetarian. Using or, student can find resources that include information about vegan diets, vegetarian diets, and sources that are discussed in both, right? So vegan and vegetarian means that using and student can find resources that include information about vegan and vegetarian diets. Not using not, student can find resources that only discuss vegan diet, right? So example of spice, actually PhD example. Spice means a setting in Malaysia. You need to this is the keywords of that we maybe can be input into your search area. What is a setting? Population, whether woman or mother. Intervention, antiretroviral therapy. Comparison, whether in rural or urban. evaluation, or whether this is a historical, political, attitude, views, and opinion. Right. This is just a same repeated example as I said before. Right. Organization and systematic research. A systematic literature search can be more easy to perform if incoming material is kept well organized. Right. So you need to keep organize your incoming material into a folder with names. So what keyword that you have used so far? You need to jot down what keyword that you have done, how many search result you have found, how many article in that keyword you have reviewed, and how many article in that keyword you have rejected. So can I quickly gather all the paper I found on a certain topics? When was the last found paper have given a keyword? What are the catalog I have used so far when you want to find the books? So how many paper did I find on a certain topic? You need to jot down this one, right? Means that every time you search, you need to take the information. So you need to report all this information later. So can I quickly retrieve a paper from with a certain title, author? Right, so how fast you can cite or retrieve a paper. Consider the results so far. What and how should I search more? So this is the organization and systematic research. Right, evaluating your search strategy. Right, so basically this lecture will be re-lecture by a librarian. They will show you how to use their library and how to retrieve the information. Right. So when you retrieve the literature and it is used to generate additional search term, means that relevant lah. When you're not relevant, eliminate term with poor yield. Right. Not retrieve, use reference list from key article to identify this. So when not relevant, no further action to be required lah. So to optimize search on literatures, you must know the basic of understanding database and search engine. Database is how literature is organized or indexed. How different database differ. Right. Search engine, how search engine different from the database, and how different search engine works. Right, so you need to understand this one. Please do some study on this. Right, history of database, I'm not going to go through about this. So this is the example of search engine. Right, so search engine and database. So search engine, we have Google, Bing, Yahoo, Wolfram Alpha, and the specific database is a PubMed. Search engine is a PubMed, Google Scholar, Scirus, Ovid, ProQuest, and etc. And database, we have Index Medicus or Medline, Web of Science, Embase, Cochrane. The specific database should be PsycInfo, Cancer Lead, Chino, HL, Emed, Curia. Right. So we have a UiTM subscribe database. So if you are not reading UiTM.net, you can go for easyaccess.library.uitm.edu.my. Right, the content of our electronic resource are copyright and licensed material. Access is also limited to only authorized user. So you can use library username or metric or staff or number, and you input your IC number as a password to gain access. So this is one of the example. This is the example of easy access. First thing that you need to put is your username. Right, I already input my username. Right, so in easy access we have a lot of database. Let's say I put all here. Right, you will appear all the database or search engine in academic. For example, let's say we look into a Xavier, right? Xavier or Springer lah, Springer. Springer, where is S? Yeah, Springer link open access, right? So all the database will be database will be here. So now let's say we search Alzheimer disease and treatment, right? So it will appear 10,000 results. So this is a more specific research topic. So it will appear 10,000 result for all years, right? So you can do a refined search by click on advanced search. So we can choose which year to find. Let's say 2020. I just want 5 years back, 2020, from 2015 to 2020. So let's say I want to find Alzheimer disease, right? For example, and treatment, right? Basically, I can put on my the second keyword on the next line, but I just want to make it fast. So yeah, because they have 2, 3, so that right between 2015 to 2020, Alzheimer disease and treatment have only 5 results. So this is the latest journal lah. So we can find, let's say for the second article ni, you can find, you can read the whole article, right? We can read the whole article. Even we can also download the PDF version of that article, right? So this is the goodness of UiTM subscribe database. Please get familiarized with the UiTM database and please use it. So another database that we have, which is Xavier, European-based product and service include electronic and print version of journal, monograph, textbook, reference works, and others, and contain health, life, physical, and social science. So it has been organized in 2 divisions, which is science and technology and health science lah. So this is health science and this is science and technology. So web-based search engine. So web-based search engine is many proprietary medical resource and database are publicly searchable by means of any internet search engine. Access to the content, however, usually you require a subscription to the publication. So the search engine for a general purpose is Google and Bing. Bing is a Microsoft search engine. So we have PubMed and Google Scholar is primary search engine for that find mostly journal article and former from the life science, later from all area of the research. So if you want to use a search engine, so we can use PubMed or Google Scholar, right? The main search engine for medical, health or life science literature, where we have a PubMed, Google Scholar, Web of Science, and Scopus. This is the most famous search engine currently, right? So if you want to go for a PubMed, you can go for this link, ncbi.mlm.nih.gov/pmc/. So PubMed is very handy and quick, easy to use database, right? It's search defined database that have extensive index and quality control. However, now PubMed now offer 1 million freely available article of which a significant number come from digitalized back issues. right? So PubMed is one of the good search engine. So this is the example of PubMed search website. So you can type the same concept using a Boolean techniques to find Alzheimer's disease and treatment into the search area. So about 60 to 70% of all journals are available. Many pharmacology and therapeutics journals are available. Many European journals, most of journals are from the developing countries, right? So this is the refined search in search field text in PubMed. So we have a lot of this is basically in an advanced search, right? So Google Scholar versus PubMed. Google Scholar is more difficult to focus than PubMed. So because it comes with a very wide search area, right? It may find papers, thesis, book, preprint, abstract, and technical report, and they are not in National Library or Medicine database, right? If you are using Google Scholar lah. However, Google Scholar does not identify the source that has or has not indexed. Thus, there is no way to know what may be missing, right? So there are pros and cons using Google Scholar and PubMed lah. So widely cited and important paper in given fields will often appear at the top of the result when you are using Google Scholar lah. With newer paper and with fewer citation appear near at the end. So this is a kind of useful search criteria jugalah. Search can be limited. The result takes into account that the full text of the article, author and publication in which it appears, and how often it has been cited in other scholar publication, right? So this is an example of Google Scholar platform. Scopus, we have another one is Scopus. Scopus basically, if you are not using institution line, then you cannot access Scopus database, right? So this is an example of Scopus database. It's the same concept. If you want to search anything, use Boolean techniques and other search techniques. And we have another search engine which is Web of Science, right? So basically, Web of Science also require you to have institutional lines, right, to search, right? So introduction to EndNote and Mendeley, right? I will cover this in separate videos, right? Or maybe I will send you to a library punya taklimat lah, taklimat library for you to gain the knowledge on how to use EndNote or Mendeley, right? So to sum up, knowing how to search is more than half the battle. The other half is knowing what to search, that is which database, right? So you need to understand which database you want to search, right? So I think that's all for today. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum.